Welcome everybody to my third build showcase, and today you join me on the Great Carrier Reef, and we begin with this boat that I made. There's really not that much to it other than it looks pretty cool. I guess it has a walkable interior for the most part. As you can see here, we have like a nice driver area over here and an upstairs, if you can even call it upstairs, compartment over here where you can sit on this awesome couch thing, I guess, and chill out on the roof. And if you want, you can also go down into the lower deck and do some things in there. Unfortunately, it is a little bit waterlogged, but that's just simply down to how Trailmakers hydrodynamics works. You don't really pressurize your own chambers, you just give it buoyancy and it floats. So it is a little bit flooded down there, unfortunately, but there's nothing we can do about that. We have this fancy little door over here that you can access with your character to get in and out of the lower decks and onto the front of the boat to chill and relax right there. And we have a little foldable sunroof thing on the top as well, so if you want to do some sunbathing on the couch, which I don't know how that would work, then you can. However, that's enough about the boat. Next up we have this spaceship. This spaceship was made one day when I was flying around in Space Sector and I was bored, so I made a new one. And it looks like this, and this was actually inspired by a picture of a Lego spaceship that I saw online, and it looks like this. It's called the Racing Spaceship, and it was made by a guy called, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm just going to say Alsvina, and it looked pretty cool, and I liked it, so I said, well, why not make it in Trailmakers? And I did. Obviously, it is adapted to do Trailmakers things, like have guns and shoot and have a shield and stuff, so it isn't really a racing ship anymore, but I think it's pretty damn cool. Next up we have a different spaceship. This one, I call this one the Antique Spaceship because it's kind of old looking and it has a whole bunch of different functions in terms of logic. Mostly it's just for flight assist and first person infotainment. As you can see here on the top, we have our heading in degrees, roll and pitch in degrees, and on the bottom you have a bunch of different information, including your speed, how close you are to the ground, your weapon selection, and a shield indicator, which for some reason has been unbound, but that's besides the point. You can very much tell otherwise when the shield is on, so that's not much of a big deal. And finally, you can't really see it from this angle, but there is also a gravity indicator and a altitude sensor right there. So let me just pan over there. There's the altitude sensor. Kind of see the gravity on the other side, but that's enough about that. This is what I like to call the short sword, which is kind of a strange name considering that this creation was actually inspired by the FSS 1000 Saber from the Halo games. Obviously with my own twist on it, with all sorts of different things, and this nice design with the paint that I really like how it turned out. It has some blasters and some rockets, and overall it's really very cool. Next up we have this mini version of my latest project that was on this channel, the Vindicator. It's just a little mini version of it, as you can see. It flies pretty good, and it was supposed to be for the helicarriers video, but instead of being the jet, I was the helicarrier. So that's why you never saw that then. It flies pretty nicely, I'd say, and there's really not that much to it. It has 2 blasters and a VTOL mode, and it looks pretty cool. The helicarrier is very robust, as you were probably able to discern from the original video. This is the big version, the reference to that plane. This is the Vindicator, the one from the video where I made a gyroless VTOL. This is the one. It's been slightly updated to have rockets instead, because they auto-aim faster and do a tad bit better in the things that I wanted it to do. So I changed that. And, well, it's mostly just still probably my favorite plane that I've built to date, because it just looks so cool. I honestly don't know if you can agree, and to be frank, I really don't care. Honestly, I just think it's cool, and I think that's enough for me. Anyway, you've also seen this one before in a previous build showcase, and this is the Spectre. And this one, the changes that I've made to this one is that I've dampened it in every axis with 20 points of gyro dampening to make it less responsive, so it would be easier to fly. If you saw the previous video, I was doing an amazing job at flying it, primarily, and that was because, well, it's kind of hard to fly. But now with this new improvement, it flies a little bit more like you would expect a regular plane to do, save for the absurd amount of G's it pulls. But now it's a lot easier to fly, which is really cool. But anyways, enough of that one. This is the Wasp from Halo Infinite. It's not that great. I'm gonna be real. It isn't perfect, and it could do with a lot better styling and shape and maybe size even, but it's a lot of fun to fly and it packs quite a punch. After that, we move on to the submarines. This first one, let's get in the water quickly, is my personal submarine that I made because I felt like it, and I thought it was really very cool, and I like it a lot. It has arms to pick things up and shoot things, it has lights, it has a whole bunch of functions to help you be as stable in the water as possible, and it's very, very nice to drive. It's quite quick, considering it only has 2 underwater propellers. However, it wasn't really quick enough, which is why I tried my hand at building a faster one using what I learned by zero dragging it, which you'll see in a second. This is a fast submarine where I experimented in trying to make the submarine as quick as possible, like so, which requires some things that you need to consider. However, let's just quickly move on to the zero drag version of the other submarine you just saw. The thing about drag underwater is that it goes from in front and behind, so you need to zero drag everything in order to get your infinite speed, and here we're getting 230 kilometers an hour from just 2 outboard motors, which I'd say is pretty good. And if you try hard enough, you can actually jump things like this over a carrier, which is fairly obvious, but you know. Definitely made that jump right there, first try. Moving on, we have a big boy. We have this one I call the Spirit of Atlantis, and it was in this came to me as an inspiration by a guy on Discord, on the Trailmakers Discord, called Brute 11,000, and he made a big submarine, and I thought it was cool, and I wanted my own, so I made one. And this is how it turned out, and I think it's pretty cool. It has a lot of lights, primarily, and it has this really cool effect on the top, as you can see right there, with pistons and rounded bits, which I thought was really cool. And again, for consistency's sake, because of the Vindicator and whatnot, we have the snake from the Zords video. I just think it's awesome. Look at it, it's a snake, it's awesome. Snakes are amazing. Anyway, that's enough about that one. This is a spider crab thing. Well, I mean, technically it's a spider, right? Because it has 8 limbs. But I'm just proud of the walking animation I did on this. It goes 10 kilometers an hour with no sort of assistance whatsoever. It has a whole bunch of little gadgets, like a gun and a tractor beam on the arms, so you can grab and shoot things, and, well, sort of make believe eat them. And at some point I seriously considered like making like a documentary type thing where I would take your guys' creations and eat them and see how they taste, because funny, I guess. Yeah. And finally, well, not finally, we still have a couple to go. We have the Wrench of Righteousness, because it is amazing and awesome and epic. Anyway, we move on to the adaptations of the Rusty car. This is the original, and this is my first version, my first upgrade, where I patched it up with metal plates. Deliberately made the blocks that I added metal plates because I thought it would be cool. And yeah, I just really love how it turned out. And of course we also have the upgraded version with the giant cannon on top, which is really deadly, as you were able to tell if you watched the video. Now, this cannon actually inspired the creation of the anti-everything gun, which is just absurd. Yeah. But here's the Wastelander against my flagship spaceship, the YVWTM Infinity. As you can see, it holds up pretty well for quite a bit, as you'll be able to see in a second. There we go. The core has been completely demolished, and there's a giant gaping hole in the middle. And it held up pretty well. It's a decent amount of shots. I didn't count how many there were, but this is the same spaceship against the anti-everything gun. I found this performance similar to how a Mac cannon deals with a Covenant cruiser in Halo, where the first 2 shots would disable its shield and the third one would completely fold it up like a tin can, which is kind of what happened here. This is a prototype for an even bigger spaceship that currently is not being worked on right now, met by the unstoppable force that is the anti-everything gun, and it, as you can see, it left a sizable hole in it. All things considered, it is kind of easy to do that because it is quite a hollow ship. It has to be because it's massive. And there we go. You see there, in 2 shots, it was able to be completely sawn in half. That's also considering it doesn't have any shields, but still, as far as the anti-everything gun goes, I'd say it's pretty impressive. I don't know. It is very gun spam, but sometimes big boom is satisfying, you know? So there it is, the anti-everything gun. Next, we have this project that I'm still working on. It's a work in progress, but I wanted to show you what I have so far. This is a knockoff Pelican also from Halo, and I have a whole bunch of things, including automatic landing gear, heads-up infotainment in the cockpit, in first-person view. It has RCS in all directions but up, because, well, who needs up? Am I right? I can lift up to a ton. with the tractor beams. It can fly around, has an atmospheric flight assist, a fully fleshed out VTOL mode as well, and all of that jazz. And it took a lot of logic, as you can probably tell, to get all of that to work nicely in the way that I intended. It could maybe be simplified, but however, this is the best that I could do to my abilities in a way that would satisfy my demands, in that I wanted it to be EMP resistant and work in the way that I wanted. It has a shield bubble, the tractor beam there, it has some cool doors for interior walkability in a way that, from what I've seen, is also the same way in an actual Pelican. However, I cannot confirm, but there is a lot of logic on this thing, and I'm very proud of it. Here are the doors, as you can see. Trailmakers is a bit of a funny game sometimes, so the distance sensor can kind of goof up a little bit. There. Door. And also other cool door. So yes, that's about that, and I think that also wraps it up for today's video. If you enjoyed, then consider leaving a like, boost engagement, and maybe more people will come see and also like, and so on and so forth. If you feel like my performance has earned your subscription, then definitely go ahead and subscribe. And while you're down there, definitely let me know what you would like to see from me next. But as always, my name is Utify. This has been the third build showcase, and I will see you again in my next video. But for now, take care.